They came to Australia expecting applause, but woke up to refund demands, angry whispers, and a luxury retreat spiraling into chaos before sunrise. What was supposed to be Meghan and Harry's polished comeback suddenly turned into a headline nightmare when guests allegedly started asking for their money back almost immediately. And once those first complaints slipped out, the entire glossy image began cracking in public view. The trip had already been strange from the start. The arrivals were tighter, colder, more controlled than anyone expected. No giant screaming crowds, no electric royal energy, no scenes that looked anything like the old days. Instead, there was silence, cautious curiosity, and the kind of atmosphere that makes people glance at each other instead of cheer. That alone told a story. But insiders say the real drama began once attention shifted from public appearances to the private luxury retreat everyone had been whispering about. This retreat was marketed like an elite escape, wellness, healing, connection, empowerment, personal transformation. Soft music, candlelight promises, premium access, curated luxury, exclusive circles, intimate sessions, carefully selected guests. In other words, not just an event, an experience. The kind of experience with a price tag so high people expected perfection before they even stepped through the doors. And when expectations are sky high, disappointment hits even harder. According to murmurs spreading fast, some guests arrived expecting hours of personal engagement, meaningful access, powerful moments, deep conversation, maybe even direct interaction that felt unforgettable. Instead, they allegedly found a schedule that felt rushed, overmanaged, and far less personal than the glamorous advertising suggested. The room looked beautiful, the branding looked expensive, the smiles looked camera-ready. But beneath the surface, tension was building by the minute. One guest was said to be furious that exclusive access felt more like distant visibility. Another reportedly complained that premium seating meant little when key moments were brief and tightly controlled. Someone else allegedly whispered that they felt sold a dream and handed a brochure version of it instead. And once one person starts complaining at a luxury event, others suddenly remember what annoyed them too. That is how these things explode, not with one scandalous scream, with 1,000 quiet disappointments. Then came the overnight twist. By early morning, chatter was growing that refund requests had begun. Some wanted partial compensation. Others wanted answers. A few simply wanted to leave without making noise. But it was already too late, because the story had escaped the room. Once people hear the word refunds attached to a celebrity retreat, the damage becomes emotional, symbolic, and public all at once. And imagine the pressure inside that camp. Meghan trying to maintain composure, grace, confidence, warmth. Harry attempting to stay calm while sensing the mood shift around them. Staff walking faster, phones being watched, smiles becoming tighter, conversations happening in corners, doors closing more quickly than before. That kind of energy cannot be hidden for long. What makes this thing worse is the timing. They didn't arrive in Australia as anonymous travelers. They arrived carrying years of headlines, controversy, debate, supporters, critics, expectations, resentment, fascination, and curiosity. Every move was already being judged before the retreat even opened. So when whispers of unhappy paying guests surfaced, it fed directly into the harshest narrative possible that glamour was being sold louder than substance. And Australia is not known for pretending everything is fine when it clearly isn't. If people feel disappointed, they say it. If they feel used, they say it louder. If they feel overcharged, they say it to everyone. Some observers claimed the retreat exposed a deeper problem, that the couple are trapped between identities, too royal to be ordinary, too commercial to feel royal, too famous to be private, too controversial to be universally adored. And when that confusion meets premium pricing, every flaw gets magnified. Even small things suddenly matter. A delayed appearance becomes disrespect. A short interaction becomes indifference. A scripted smile becomes calculation. A rushed exit becomes panic. Fair or unfair, that is how perception works when cameras are waiting. Then came the most brutal whisper of all, that some guests felt the event cared more about image capture than guest satisfaction. Photos polished, atmosphere staged, messaging controlled, but the emotional payoff missing. If true, that accusation cuts deeper than any refund demand because money can be returned, trust is harder to replace. Meanwhile, Harry's presence reportedly raised another layer of confusion. Was he he there as supportive husband, equal partner, separate attraction, or silent symbol of status? Because every time he enters the room, the royal shadow enters with him. And no matter how far they move from palace life, that shadow still sells tickets, still drives curiosity, still changes expectations. By sunrise, what was meant to be a healing luxury experience had allegedly become a reputational headache. Staff were said to be fielding complaints, guests were said to be comparing notes, critics were said to be grinning, supporters were said to be defending, and the couple themselves were suddenly facing the exact nightmare they likely hoped to avoid. A story not about inspiration, but dissatisfaction. Because once the phrase demanding refunds overnight hits the public imagination, it paints a devastating picture. People don't imagine calm emails. They imagine outrage in hallways, stunned organizers, whispered confrontations, premium guests storming out, and a brand cracking under pressure. Whether every rumor is true or not almost stops mattering at that point. The perception becomes the event, and that may be the real lesson of Australia. It wasn't just about one retreat. It was about whether Meghan and Harry can still turn attention into admiration instead of backlash, whether exclusivity still attracts or now irritates, whether star power still shines or now provokes scrutiny. Because by the end of that first chaotic night, one question was hanging in the air heavier than any luxury scent in the room. If paying guests wanted out this fast, what exactly had they walked into? By the second day, the retreat no longer felt like a glamorous escape wrapped in candles and curated calm. It felt like a building trying to hold in smoke after everyone had already smelled the fire. The polished exterior remained in place, of course. Soft lighting still glowed, branded smiles still appeared on cue, staff still moved with rehearsed efficiency, but the emotional atmosphere had changed completely. The energy that was supposed to feel elevated and exclusive now reportedly felt tense, observant, and suspiciously divided. Some guests were still trying to enjoy themselves, convincing each other the experience would improve. Others had already emotionally checked out and were simply waiting for the right moment to leave with dignity. And in environments built entirely on perception, once that split happens, the collapse starts from within. People began noticing everything. Sessions that started late, moments that felt shorter than promised, interactions that seemed carefully rationed. Guests who expected access allegedly found themselves getting glimpses instead of connection. The difference sounds small until you remember these were not casual attendees. These were people who had paid luxury prices for premium intimacy, prestige, and proximity. They did not come for ordinary. They came for extraordinary. And when extraordinary feels ordinary, disappointment becomes louder than any microphone in the room. Then came the whispers about backstage scrambling. Organizers reportedly trying to smooth over complaints with complimentary add-ons, private reassurances, schedule tweaks, and vague promises that something special was still coming later. That phrase alone can be dangerous, because once unhappy guests are told to wait for redemption, expectations rise again. If nothing dramatic follows, the frustration doubles. It becomes disappointment plus embarrassment. Nobody likes feeling let down, but people hate feeling persuaded to stay hopeful even more. Meghan, according to those watching closely, was said to be working hard to keep the atmosphere warm, smiling longer, lingering in conversation slightly more, leaning into empathy, gratitude, and inspirational language. On the surface, it looked graceful, but critics claimed it also looked reactive, as if the room had to be emotionally won back in real time. That is the cruel side of celebrity events. A simple warm gesture can be praised by supporters as generosity and mocked by critics as damage control at the exact same moment. Harry's role became even more fascinating. He reportedly moved through the venue in a calmer, more casual style, greeting people with a more natural ease that some guests appreciated. But others questioned why he seemed like a side figure at an event that still benefited from his presence. Because no matter how carefully the retreat may have been marketed, Harry remains a magnet for curiosity. People notice where he stands, who he speaks to, how long he stays, whether he looks comfortable, whether he looks trapped, whether he looks engaged or detached. With him, silence becomes a headline by itself. And then came the moment that truly deepened the drama. Several guests were rumored to have compared notes privately and realized many of them had been sold different expectations. Some believed they were getting deeper access. Some thought they would receive exclusive group time. Some assumed premium add-ons meant meaningful interaction. Others expected a full luxury transformation package. Once attendees start discovering they each imagined a different product, chaos is never far behind. Because then the question becomes brutal and simple. What exactly was everyone paying for? That question spread faster than any official statement could contain. Suddenly, the retreat was no longer being judged by yoga mats, floral decor, healing playlists, or luxury menus. It was being judged by clarity, value, and honesty, and those are much harder things to decorate. Outside the venue, the media's scent of trouble was growing stronger. Reporters love glamour until glamour starts wobbling. Then it becomes irresistible. A successful retreat is lifestyle content. A retreat with refund rumors is front-page bait. Every arriving car looked suspicious. Every early departure looked dramatic. Every closed curtain looked like a secret. Every smiling exit looked rehearsed. Once the narrative turns, even neutral moments start looking guilty. Supporters, of course, pushed back hard. They argued this was the usual cycle of exaggerated negativity, that any premium event brings complaints, that critics were waiting to attack regardless of what happened. They pointed out that some guests reportedly enjoyed themselves, praised the atmosphere, and appreciated the couple's presence. And that may be true, but in public scandals, satisfaction is quiet while dissatisfaction performs. Happy people go home. Angry people tell stories. Meanwhile, online commentary became merciless. People mocked the idea of paying thousands for vibes. Others joked that manifestation should have included manifesting refunds. Some called it a masterclass in branding. Others called it a warning sign that celebrity mystique does not automatically convert into luxury credibility. And that may be the deeper wound here. Not one bad event, but the possibility that the formula itself is being questioned. Because Meghan and Harry have spent years trying to build something new outside palace walls. Influence without institution. Prestige without protocol. Relevance without official roles. Freedom with status intact. It is an ambitious reinvention. But reinventions are fragile when they depend on public belief. If people begin feeling they are buying image instead of value, the entire structure becomes shaky. By the final hours, insiders claimed the retreat ended with polite applause but divided hearts. Some attendees still wanted photos, memories, and positive closure. Others wanted distance. Some defended the couple warmly. Others muttered that they would never pay for anything similar again. That split may matter more than any headline because it suggests the audience itself is no longer unified by fascination. And then came the departure. Cars pulling away. Staff exhaling. Guests posting carefully worded comments. Phones full of footage. Private group chats exploding. Critics sharpening narratives. Supporters trying to restore balance. Meghan and Harry leaving with smiles visible to cameras, but perhaps knowing the trip had not delivered the clean victory they needed. Because Australia was supposed to showcase momentum, elegance, and demand. Instead, it reportedly produced refund talk, confusion, backlash, and a fresh round of questions about who they are becoming in public life. Humanitarians, entrepreneurs, global speakers, premium lifestyle figures, former royals monetizing Martin fame? The answer keeps changing depending on who is asked. And that uncertainty may be the loudest sound of all. Louder than applause, louder than outrage, louder than the gossip rage.